It is the Dark Star Memorial Hour, and I have a handful of them for you this afternoon. We'll start with David Michael Workman, age 52, passed away peacefully on March 29, 2026, following a courageous battle with cancer. Dave was a top machinist and spent his life rooted in the community he loved. An avid golfer, anchoring a 13-14 handicap at the beloved Ponds course until political upheaval put an end to the top 5 track golf course. He also enjoyed time around a pool table and exploring car shows with friends. An avid snowmobiler, Dave cherished the winter months, finding joy in the crisp air and the unmistakable scent of 2-stroke engines. Gifted with natural curiosity and mechanical skill, he was a true jack of all trades, able to build or repair anything he set his mind to. He was a well-loved presence in the Stillwater restaurant scene, starting at an early age at Esteban's and later working as a bartender at P.D. Pappy's, where he formed many lasting friendships and served a few cocktails to the ladies with those $400 pair of jeans. I can imagine him in heaven at the clubhouse after a round of golf, drinking a rum and coke, and someone possibly dark asking him, "Where'd you hit it on one?" Dave would reply, 310 down the middle. Second shot, 110 yards left to a difficult green guarded by a pond to the right. I hit a knockdown punch cut fade draw to 9 feet. Then what? Rolled it in for birdie, me boy. Dave was a great friend and will be dearly missed by all, especially his Wednesday night golf league. Next up, I write this missive with both a joyous and grief-stricken heart. On May 18th of this year, the Commonwealth lost a longtime member, and I lost my friend Bob, a.k.a. GBD. The Grum is part of what made us friends. We always answered each other's phone calls, me always. I'm joyous that I had the chance to call him a friend, and I'm grief-stricken that I will never get to call my friend again. This is not the first time you'll read an email from me about GBD on the Grum. Attached is a copy of an email I wrote to you after you described a lawn golf course your dad designed in your yard using orange juice containers for holes. What I didn't know at the time was later that month, Bob would discover cancer in his liver. Never one to admit defeat, Bob did everything he could to fight cancer and squeeze 5+ years out of a 2-year diagnosis. A lifelong golfer, GBD continued in the men's league at Gross through last season, no matter how low the treatment of the cancer brought him. He also fished and hunted like a true Minnesotan. Most importantly, he dedicated his life to his 2 daughters, sprung from his loins. The lawn golf course lives on, and we shot hundreds of rounds while we could. Sorry for all the words. They still aren't enough. Please ask Dark to book a tea time, get ready for some of the finest bourbon, and enjoy the time he now gets to spend with GBD. Me always, buddy. Thank you. Signed, Morgan. And then our final Dark Star Memorial. Hello, Common. I recently lost my dog, Ollie, officially Oleda, which means Native American Princess, and I'm having a very hard time with it. I work from home, and much of my day includes the fan in the background. Ollie was always with me and had a work bed in my office. The kids used to call her assistant to the daddy, especially in the afternoons when things slow down. I find myself looking over and expecting to see her ear sticking up over her bed or hear a deep sigh when you start talking golf. Wait, I got to give you a rim shot for that. And after being with her all day for many years, everything around me is a reminder, including the Grum. I was just hoping you could give a shout out for an amazing friend that I miss so much. Could you please let me know if this makes the cut so I can go back and catch it if I miss it live? Thank you so much and keep up the decent work. Ken in northern Wisconsin, originally from northern Minnesota. Here's your shout out. It made the cut here on this Friday afternoon. And there are your Dark Star Memorials for today. Tell me, there's a question here that says, what does the light fandango reference mean? Well, it just means trip the light fandango is what it means. It's an old... Are you going out to tip the light fandango and have a couple of cocktails? It's an old school phrase, and I don't even know if I know the origin. But anyway, here is a whoops. Here's one that says, Kendrick Perkins made national news the other day because he got in a verbal argument with another AAU coach. I did not hear about that. Did you, Tennessee?
I did not hear about that either.
Yeah, well, the basketball will the basketball will do that. I've seen plenty of meltdowns, coaches, players, etc., referees in the AAU football, that's for sure. I got the people love the beer belt bit. If the hefty garbage bags you sell as rain ponchos are apparel, then the beer belt definitely is. Because we do sell hefty garbage bags at the state fair for rain apparel, and we do say that it is apparel is what it definitely is. So as I say, those are your Dark Star memorials for the day. I noticed that in last night's basketball game, it was what I think a number of people predicted was that Wemby and company, it's that here we are, backs against the wall. Did you predict the route?
Yeah.
I thought you did. Yeah,
I'm a great basketball mind.
You are a great basketball mind, and you're part of the hockey community. You said it would be a laugh.
San Antonio on a route, yeah.
What did they end up winning by?
I don't know, 20-ish points?
Yeah, and, there were a couple.
By the time I tuned in at the tail end of their 20-0 run in the third quarter, so I really didn't ever get to see competitive basketball.
Yeah. Well, I watched, and again, it's the dozing in and out, but while I was watching, by the time I tuned in, they were, 8 minutes into the ball game, and it seemed like San Antonio had a fairly decent lead. They would push it up towards 20. Couple of times, the Thunder were able to cut that lead.
They won by 27.
Okay, they were able to cut that lead to 8. Oh, now I know where it came from. And he's right. AI response to where did Trip the Light Fandango? We skipped the light fandango as the iconic opening lyric from Procol Harum's 1967 hit song, A Whiter Shade of Pale. It is a surreal, dreamlike play on the much older phrase, trip the light fantastic, which means to dance lightly or nimbly. So there it is, Tennessee, then trip the light fandango. I knew I'd heard it from somewhere, and that's where it's from. It's from Procol Harum's A Whiter Shade of Pale. That's the tune that when Barrero does Ode for a Dead Guy. That's the song that that he plays. Whiter Shade of Pale. What chores do you have your kids do? I'm still fascinated with the chores thing. Well, not fascinated, but
we don't really have set chores. We've had times where my wife specifically more so than I will be like, here, I'll give you a couple bucks if you go do this, right? You go dust all the doorknobs or dust the basement, something like that. Obviously we're like, you need to pick up your floor in your room and clear your plates, but like the big ones like mowing the lawn, I guess my 11-year-old probably could do it, but the other two are too young.
Right.
And frankly, when I almost chopped off my own toe anyways with a lawnmower, I don't really feel like throwing that to my child at this point. So we don't really have any like set chores. Occasionally we'll ask them to do things, but there's also money involved. We're not just doing it just to teach responsibility.
How much you paying for? I'm always looking for a couple
that comes
extra
out of
bucks.
That comes out of my wife's checking account.
So it's out of her checking account?
Yeah.
I'm always looking for making a couple of extra bucks. If the chores aren't too tedious, I might be interested. You could always give me a call. Let's take a break, come back.
But I lean a little more your way on, they're only kids for so long.
Yeah.
Have them enjoy their childhood.
Well, that's the way I do. And I understand the people that came back and said, well, yeah, but you got to teach them responsibility and how to do things for themselves. And I get that. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine.
I may get more into that the older they get, but my 6-year-old doesn't need to be doing chores.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think my 9-year-old needs to be doing chores.
No, they need to just be nice 6 and 9-year-olds and having fun because the world's crazy enough as it is. Let's take a break, come back. I have plenty more to get to. Well, really not much more to get to, but we'll figure it out. Trust me, we'll do it. This is a Phone It In Friday on the Common Man program along with Tennessee right here on the Fan.
The Common Man.
The radio home of Minnesota sports is also on YouTube. Check out the KFAN YouTube channel for exclusive videos, in-depth takes, initials, and password games, and behind-the-scenes content. Search KFAN on YouTube and hit subscribe today. You can also watch that Program Passer Invitational quarterfinal from yesterday where Meat Sauce and Creasel took on Parker Fox and Max Fuller.
Couple 13-14 pastime common. He's 10 and B on a Phone It In Friday. So one of those CBS Sports, I don't know, I guess it's a list, sort of, kind of. They were ranking the best coaches in college football, Power 4 coaches in Power Football, the top 25 entering the 2026 season, Tennessee. So when it goes in inverse order, is inverse meaning from 25 to 1, because that's the order they did it in. At number 25, a Big Ten coach, Brett Bielema of Illinois. So that's one Big Ten coach. Checking in at number 20, Kirk Ferentz of Iowa. That's two Big Ten coaches. Checking in at 17, Lincoln Riley of USC. That's three. Or do we already get to three? Is that four now? Three Big Ten coaches. Matt Campbell at 16, Penn State Nittany Lions. That's four Big Ten coaches. Checking in at 10, Michigan's Kyle Whittingham. How many do we have now? I've lost track. Let me go back. Lost track. Sorry about that. So you got Bielema, that's one. Ferentz, two. Riley, three. Campbell, four. And Whittingham is five. Who else do we have here? Dan Lanning of Oregon, so he would be the sixth in the list. Ryan Day of Ohio State is seven. And then Kirk Cignetti, number 8. So 8 or 9 coaches tend to be, and no mention of PJ Fleck.
You've got to be kidding me.
And, you know, anytime we hear of coaching openings, Fleck name is always one of the popular ones that comes up because, you know, he's coached at like 4 different Illinois-type schools, Northern Illinois, Central Illinois, West, East, whatever. And he's done a nice job, and he finally got elevated to the Minnesota job. I don't think he's as highly regarded around the country as some people want to think around here. And he's been given a lot of contract extensions. Get to a bowl game, contract extension, get to a bowl game, contract extension. But, and, you know, again, there's a lot of coaches that aren't in the top 25, but, you know, there's 8 or 9 Big Ten coaches out of the Big 8. It's actually the Big 18 now. And our guy, PJ Fleck, is not included in that list. So.
Huh?
And then I saw another story today about the football program, and I'll have to take their word for it. Tennessee says Gophers hope to maintain football recruiting momentum during annual summer splash, and so I'm led to believe that we've been doing a really good job in recruiting. It says Coach PJ Fleck will try to add more commitments to his 2027 class, which is currently ranked number 16 in the country.
Wow.
So it's a highly regarded recruiting class. 16's pretty good. Big Ten's a tough place to win. I don't, you just heard, we just had, 8 coaches are ranked in the top 25 Power 4 schools. Indiana just won the national championship. Didn't Ohio State win the national championship the year before? Was it 2 years ago? Michigan's always been a contender. They won one with J.J. McCarthy. There's a lot of successful teams in the Big Ten. We had the nice year when we went 11-2 and won a bowl game and finished the AP top 25 as the 10th ranked team, and that's been the high watermark for Fleck and the Gophers. But we'll see. These recruiting classes, oftentimes when they live up to those expectations, and other times they don't. But 16 is pretty good.
I don't even know what to make of the recruiting classes, because by the time they get to the University of Minnesota or wherever they're going to college, some of them may have already transferred.
Right.
They decommit and they go somewhere else because somewhere else offered them more nil money. So I wouldn't even know what percentage of that class that's currently committed is actually going to be here by the time they're ready to step on a football field.
Randy Johnson writes Gopher football for the Fish Wrap Factory.
The big unit?
No, a different one.
Okay.
Says the Gophers already have 16 players committed to their 2027 class, which as of Thursday was ranked number 16 nationally and 8th in the Big Ten in the 247 Sports composite ratings. Fleck typically completes his recruiting classes by the end of June, getting off to a fast start and holding on to as many pledges as possible, heading into the early signing period in December. Alan True, Midwest recruiting analyst for On3.com. On3. He goes, they've done a good job of building the class prior to these official visits. That was by design to try to get some of these guys up for spring practices, to let them see how the coaches operate, but also to get some of the guys in the class before they have a chance to go visit other places in June. PJ and his staff have recruited that way for a long time. They're aggressive, and they want to get guys early. And, a real telling part of that story is they're ranked 16th nationally, but only 8th in the Big Ten. I know there are 18 teams in the Big Ten, but that would lead me to believe if you're 16th nationally, but only 8th in the Big Ten, there are plenty of Big Ten recruiting classes that are ranked higher than 16. It's not to give Fleck or any other coach a pass, but recruiting in the Big Ten can't be easy when you have all these other Big Ten teams out of the so-called helmet schools.
I would say it's not easy compared to the other Big Ten teams, but
right.
Nationally, there's something to being like the SEC was so strong forever. It was easy to recruit to the SEC because your pitch is, hey, you get to play in the best conference in all of college football.
Right.
So it probably has benefited Minnesota, even though their odds of winning a Big Ten title are slim. It should actually be easier to recruit there now because you do have the normal helmet schools like Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State, but now you have the Oregons and the USCs and the UCLAs and the Washingtons. And so now you have a bigger exposure to the country. You're more likely to get more games on television, on Big Ten Network television, which leads to more nil money. So it's, like I said, when you're just comparing to other Big Ten schools, yeah, the Gophers are in a tough spot.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But it actually helps them to recruit nationally when the conference is now the premier conference.
Yeah. It's, and like this recruiter guy, this guy that works for the recruiting service that follows this stuff, like he says, they try to get him early, get him in right away because I've always done the line about if you're a McDonald's or a Burger King or a Five Guys, Culver's All-American, right? And your mailbox is just jammed with offers, right? And as you're going through them, you see the one come from Minnesota, you fold it over and you place your beer can on top of it for a coaster because you've got all these other schools that are interested in you. But like you say, if they get the cream of the crop, what has to happen at a place like Minnesota, I think, is you get those. If you're ranking them instead of you're instead of an A recruit, you're getting the B's, but you coach them up and make them in days. The best thing that can be said about a program is it's not good for the program if your player transfers, but that also means that he's a pretty good football player and he's gone elsewhere because other programs want him, and so that means you're doing a pretty good job recruiting. But I don't know. The conference is stocked. Someone writes that he says. Gophers are stuck in the middle ground, that Fleck can recruit, but he's a terrible in-game coach. I don't know if he's a terrible in-game coach. I mean, for the longest time, and maybe this had a lot to do with personnel, run the ball all the time, right? Well, then he started passing the ball more, particularly with, who's the kid coming back, was a freshman?
Well, he started it with Max Brosmer.
But who's the kid that's quarterbacking now? Why can't I think of his name?
No, his name escapes me. I just saw him the other day on a projected first-round pick next year.
Seriously?
Yeah.
He had a really good season for the Gophers last year. And, what's been interesting is the better the passing...
Drake Lindsay. That's
it. The better the passing game has become, they become more of a passing team. So I think a lot of it has to do with, well, if the personnel you have, if you don't have a great quarterback, or you just, he's solid, but he's not elite, as PJ likes to say, and you don't have a receiver. Because then if you don't have an elite quarterback, it's sometimes difficult to get the better receivers to come because they know they're not going to be on the receiving end, pardon the pun, of a quarterback that can really spin it. So, Drake Lindsay is right. And this one says, also, the recruiting classes leave by the time they are seniors, and they often do, that's for sure. We'll take a break. One more segment to go here. We call it the Victory Formation segment. We've had another winning week. That's coming your way next here on the Common Man program on the Fan.
The Common Man.
And welcome some great shows to Mystic Lake Amphitheater. The legendary Bob Dylan.
I'm sorry, who did you say, Bob Dylan?
The legendary Bob Dylan.
I am just a poor boy whose story is seldom told. I have squandered my resistance for a pocket full of mumbles, such are promises.
I actually wish you would have done a Dylan duet there.
Oh, sorry.
Early one morning.
I'm just a poor boy whose story's seldom told. I have squandered my resistance for a pocket full of mumbles, such are promises.
Bob Dylan will be there July 6th. On August 21st, it's Motley Crue.
My heart went bang, shang-a-lang. Bang, shang-a-lang. Bang, shang-a-lang. Bang, bang.
And on August 27th, it's Santana.
Honey, oh, sugar, sugar,
and the Doobie Brothers.
Wow, man. Doobie Brothers coming to concert.
Get the complete details on all of our upcoming shows on the concert page at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
So in the talkback switch, you mentioned to me that there's a couple of natties talking about the Kyler Murray, J.J.
It's become a topic, yeah. Just based off of McCarthy, yeah.
So what do you have for us?
So this first one is former Carolina wide receiver Steve Smith, who of course once did the Love Boat celebration after scoring a touchdown against the Purple. Here's what he said about the Vikings quarterback battle.
What do you expect from Kyler Murray?
Oh, God bless him. Justin Jefferson probably needs to read that book that A.J. Brown was using on the sideline. I don't see a chance. And the fact, J.J. McCarthy, you know who could beat J.J. McCarthy? Anybody with a heartbeat. And Kyler Murray, good luck. I hope things improve for him. I hope he stays off the Call of Duty and start getting in his playbook.
Well... Yeah, I mean, I do think that there are. I'm not convinced Kyler Murray is going to be the answer by any stretch of the imagination. The reason I liked it was because he's played in the NFL. He went to a couple of Pro Bowls. He's had moments where he's a pretty good quarterback. When you can get him for the price you did, and when you look at the alternative, which is McCarthy, and God bless him. You heard Steve Smith say, God bless. I hope that J.J. McCarthy rebounds and has a long and successful career with the Purple or wherever if he doesn't end up here, wherever he goes. But I have my doubts. Call it just a hunch. Call it a gut feeling, but I just don't think that it's all there for him.
Well, I mean, there's a reason he's available.
Right.
You got to have some doubts about it.
Yes, absolutely. So, but yeah, I mean, the way.
But out of the options you had to choose from, he at least seemed to be clearly the cheapest option. Correct. And maybe the one with the highest ceiling.
Yeah.
So,
and I think there are a lot of people that share his opinion, and it might not be that far off. I mean, it certainly isn't the best quarterback situation in football. We know that. And now you have one from.
Yeah, this is from Jeremy Fowler on ESPN. Obviously, he used to write for the Pioneer Press. Now writes for ESPN.com and is on ESPN. So giving you a little bit more of a journalistic perspective than Steve Smith.
Okay.
And he's talking about what coaches we're seeing on the field thus far with J.J. McCarthy and OTAs.
J.J. McCarthy, I'm told that he's made improvements that the Vikings coaches have noted and have told him so. Things like layering the ball a little better, using all the clubs in your bag, not throwing a fastball all the time. Like, he's shown some things this spring that have been impressive. So J.J. McCarthy.
It's looking good.
Do we have a quarterback controversy in town then?
Oh my gosh, you are above average at that.
Then I think the prevailing wisdom has been tend to be that, look, this is Kyler Murray's going to be the starting quarterback. Rosen's convinced of it. Going to be the starting quarterback. I think a lot of other people are. You didn't bring him in here. He wouldn't agree to come here if there weren't some sorts of guarantees, because were you saying yesterday there were several other opportunities for Murray and he chose Minnesota, right?
Yeah, I mean, there were other options out there. Probably the biggest option would have been the New York Jets.
Yeah.
They got Geno Smith instead.
I guess what I'm trying to say is I know that the coaching staff is told in no uncertain terms that this is a quarterback competition. It's a competition for both. I don't doubt that the way they look at it is if McCarthy blows us away, he shows vast improvements, and Murray isn't very good, we'll go that direction. But I do lean towards saying it's Murray's job to lose. And I would hope McCarthy showed some improvements. He knows what he has to do to get better. He hired a private quarterback coach, and he spent time in the offseason working on it. The head coach on a number of occasions said a lot of it is just mechanics. We've poked fun at the eyes and feet being aligned, and so he needed to improve. There was some really bad performances, but I still think Murray's going to be in the starting quarterback. This text message says, were there actually options on the table for Kyler, or are you just guessing?
I'm not Kyler Murray's agent, right. So I'm speculating.
Yeah. Three things I need this summer: KFAN beer belt, Tenneby's used golf shoes, and more Dylan duets. The golf shoes are gone.
They're gone.
The Dylan duets are more difficult to do because of BMI ASCAP licensing regulations. The KFAN beer belts aren't going to last very long. I think they're going to be going in a different direction. Did you see the story about the cheesehead hat on the Associated Press? Says, hold on, my story is spinning around in circles. Here it is. It says, Americans long have leavened their powerful global image with goofiness, cheerful confidence that can deflect international wonder over certain strains of ignorance into a smile. Behold, for example, the cheesehead hat. Made of sofa foam and sunny yellow defiance, the hat was created in the late 80s in response to the taunting faced by supporters of sports teams in Wisconsin. Cheeseheads residents of neighboring Illinois said the insult was embraced and yes, turned on its head, particularly in the realm of certain football team, the Green Bay Packers. Here's what the creator of the Cheesehead hat, Ralph Bruno, told Milwaukee Magazine about his inspiration. I wasn't thinking too deeply about it. I just thought it would be a really good idea. There are a lot of goofy things that fans will wear. The Cheesehead hat may be number one on the list. Right?
Because it doesn't look good.
No, I don't think it has a good look.
Is it much different, though, than our fans wearing the Helga horns?
Yeah. This one says, there's a very famous saying that applies here. No, that doesn't. I can't read that up here. That won't go. Let's, I've blown him off a couple of times this week, and I apologize. Let's take a call from Warren. Warren, thanks for calling. What do you got for us today?
Well, the NBA thing is kind of driving me nuts, and I'll tell you about that. And the one good thing for the Vikings. But first thing is, I blame the coach 100% for the Timberwolves not getting to where they needed to get. Here's the thing, Common, you said it 100%. We said it all along the season. One is, you would have thought that the coach would have learned last year when they played the Lakers. They didn't use Shannon all year. He gets to the playoffs, puts him in the game, plays well. Okay, and this is where they're missing it. Okay, with the Wolves. The Wolves, if you look at what they did in the draft, they knew they would have to have taller players to compete with the guy that they're dealing with San Antonio. They got a 7'3" guy. They got 4 guys over 7 foot tall. And here's the thing. The guy from the Athletic said that Berenguer should have been playing all season at about 20 minutes.
Well, yeah,
and he could have played on any team.
But hold on. There are a number of us that said that. I don't think anybody would argue with you. I don't like the way they do it in the NBA at all. I think most of these coaches settle on 7, 8, 9-man rotations because they want to win games, and that's what they do, and they think these players aren't experienced to play. But it's the chicken or egg. If you don't play a guy, how is he going to get experience? If he doesn't have any experience, how are you going to play him? So, yeah, they should.
Well, here's the thing.
I'm not going to blame it on the coach. Yeah. I'm not going to blame everything on the coach.
Well, I will for him because here's the thing. They did that on purpose, okay? Secondly, it's easy to figure out how you take care of the 7'4" guy, 7'5", whatever it is. And you said it all along. And that's why they lost last. And that's why the Oklahoma lost last night. If you have somebody in his face the whole game and irritates him to the point where you get your hands in front of his face, make it so he can't see the ball. And you go from 7'3" to 7, whatever it is, and you got somebody constantly in his face, he's not going to be very successful. And the thing about it is, but here's what the Timberwolves should have done. If they would have played those guys early in the season, the guys they should have had on the court, they should have had 3 big guys on the court at the same time and not use a close to the basket pyramid. If they would have had Reed and both of those guys constantly, they wouldn't have been able to compete.
Right. Let's get to your area of expertise. What do you add about the Vikings?
I'm going to tell you one thing. No guarantee if this guy's going to play. The guy that they picked up from Pittsburgh, Laudermilk, the defensive lineman, not only played for him for 8 years. The guy's 6'8", and he played against the Vikings last year and did an outstanding job. This guy's not only going to. He was a fairly high draft choice. This is an under the radar guy. And one other thing I want to bring up really quick. If I was the Timberwolves, here's what I would do.
Okay.
I would take
we're
2
back
guys.
To the Timberwolves now?
The 2 guys. Well, I mean, because talk about this might give you something to talk about.
I need it.
You got the 2 guys that did. You got Rudy and the other guy. that didn't play well in the playoffs. You want to take care of that situation? You go over to Memphis and you get that Titus Edney, the 7'4" guy, and he plays well. I would do what I could do to get him in there, and then you take the guard from Orlando that played with played here at school. You get him on the roster. You get those two guys on the roster, so you still have four guys over 7 foot tall. Titus Edney's 7'4".
Okay,
and he played really well.
Right.
And then what you do is in the draft, you get the two. You do what you can do to get the best possible shooting guard you can get, and somebody that can pass.
Gotcha.
But what do you think about getting the guy from Minnehaha Academy? Because the money will line up with the guys they're talking about. But if they would have attacked that team with what they had, they would have been able to beat them.
All right, thanks. I thought we only had Warren for the football season. Now we're going to get to basketball as well. Wait till
what's his wild takes?
I don't know. This was a story. I
thought he was going to tell us about someone that no one's really talking about.
Do you remember when? Of course you remember when. Green Bay Packers drafted Jordan Love, right? When Aaron Rodgers was still playing on the club. And there were differences of opinion on if that was the right thing to do. And I don't think the quarterback was very happy about it. If you'll remember down in Atlanta, Kirk Cousins signed a contract with the Atlanta Falcons, and then the Falcons in that same draft, the upcoming draft after they had signed him, they drafted Penix. And apparently Cousins was none too happy with that. Matthew Stafford breaks silence on Rams' shocking decision to draft quarterback Ty Simpson with a first-round pick. During a Wednesday appearance on the Pat McAfee show, Stafford gave his first public interview since the draft. He received questions about how communication with Simpson has been, and based on Stafford's answer, it doesn't sound like there's been a lot of drama so far. Here's what he said. I'm in there with him in the meeting room on the practice field, trying to share as much knowledge as I can. I was a big fan of Ty when he was playing at Alabama. I sent him a text after he got drafted and said, really enjoyed watching you play. You were just in the wrong jersey. You weren't a dog. I did enjoy watching him play. He's a talented kid. Stafford says, I'm going to do everything I can to get this team ready to play, to win, but at the same time, share some knowledge that I've gained throughout my career. I wouldn't be in the seat that I am right now talking to you guys after a really good football season if I didn't have people helping me out along the way. So I'm happy to do that. He's been a sponge. I understand where the team's coming from. I'm not 25 years old, and I get that. So we're doing everything we can to be as good a football team as we can for now, for the future, for all of it. And that's another reason why I like Stafford. He has the right. I think he's got the right attitude and the right approach to it. That's why the Cousins thing just befuddled me. And there were a lot of people that were defending Cousins. Well, yeah, he thought he was coming down their side. And the easy solution for that is to just play really, really well, and you won't have to worry about a guy looking over your shoulder. And Stafford, now, he's more accomplished.
I was going to say, he's more secure in his spot.
Yeah, he is.
Like the Rams didn't draft Ty Simpson because they think like Stafford's about to, he's fading, right? And we need to find our next guy. He might retire at any point, so we'd like to have our backup plan when that happens.
Well,
right? I don't think they're in a rush to move Stafford out.
Well, I don't think they were in a rush to move Cousins out. If Cousins would have played really good football, he'd still be there now as the starting quarterback. They were looking towards the future. That's why they drafted him. I know that Stafford's more, but Stafford himself admits it. He says, I'm 37 years old. I don't know how much longer I'm going to play, and they have to look towards the future. That's the right attitude for it, sharing his wisdom with them, whereas you've got other, Rodgers wasn't, I don't think, very, he may have shared a lot of his knowledge with Jordan Love, but it didn't appear from what I was able to gather that he did. But Yeah, I just like I just like Stafford's attitude. Then here's a story, Tenneby. Lamar Jackson. All I have, because it's one of those audio stories, but it says, new coach is a breath of fresh air in Baltimore. And maybe I missed something, and maybe there have been some stories that I've just that I've missed. But was Harbaugh not liked by people in Baltimore?
I always thought he was liked.
That's what I always thought that he was. And so I don't know what the breath of fresh air means, but I always thought that he was fairly well liked, and he's considered a really good coach. I mean, hell, he's won a world championship, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't, and again, hold on, my phone won't stop talking to me. There we go. I don't know. I like Jackson as a quarterback, but postseason hasn't been kind to him, right? So, and my guess is they'll be the favorite to win the division again, right? Or do you think that's going to be Cincinnati? Because Burrow's been, he went from thinking, I might need to remember he was publicly saying, well, he was basically alluding to the fact he might not want to be there anymore, to now I think he's predicted they're going to win the Super Bowl.
Well, apparently they're favored in the vast majority of their games already by Las Vegas, which is a little surprising because I feel like they haven't been very good the last year or two.
Yeah.
Obviously, their offense, when everyone's healthy, is one of the most explosive in all football. But I don't know what to think of that division, because I think Baltimore's always been kind of the cream of the crop. They dropped off a little bit last year. The new coaching staff, you have no idea what's going to happen there, but they have potential to be division winners. Pittsburgh won it last year. They should be in the mix, but I don't look at them as a dominant team. Cincinnati, if they can figure out how to play defense, can definitely win the division. And Cleveland, who knows?
Who was your preseason?
Cleveland got a new coach too.
Who was your preseason favorite in the NFC North?
In the NFC North?
Mm-hmm. Who do you like?
Can you give me a couple months to sit on that one?
I'll have to give you a few weeks for sure.
I bet you wouldn't be surprised if any of the teams won it, would you?
Probably not.
Any team could win it. Yeah. You'd be like, I could see that.
Yep. I was trying to get the guys in the...
We might get a little burst out of Kyler.
I got the guys... I had Mitch over in sales. He did one of those...
Spit takes?
Spit takes, because a couple of days ago I painted a picture of doom or gloom for the Vikings or the Lions, and I said I reassessed and I had them at 15-2. And then I said, they're going to lose to New Orleans and they're going to lose to the Bills, which would mean they would rattle off 15 wins in a row. I highly doubt that will happen, but anything for a laugh. Thanks for having me.
Hey, great job.
You did a great job as well today. We enjoyed our visit with you, as we always do. Thanks, Little B, for sharing an hour with us today. We're back Monday at 12 noon. Enjoy your weekend. Tita Green live from Minnesota National.